Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's Top 50 Movies number 8. So this video is a part of a series of videos where I count down my top 50 favorite movies of my lifetime. For my top 10 favorite movies, I'm making a video for each film in my top 10. This video is for my number 8 favorite film. And number 8 is Leone the Professional. Leone the Professional was released in theaters in the US in late 1994 under the name The Professional. In many other countries, it was released under the title Leone. Later, when an extended version of the film was released on DVD, it was redubbed Leone the Professional. Leone the Professional tells the story of a professional hitman who ends up sheltering a 12-year-old girl whose family was killed by dirty DEA agents, and they end up forming a bond in what is a bizarre relationship. I remember seeing the commercials for this on TV when it was first released in theaters under its original US title, The Professional. It was advertised as a typical action movie about a hitman, so I didn't really think much of it. My expectations is that it would be a typical B-grade Jean-Claude Van Damme type action film, as they were quite common in the mid-90s. However, when I eventually saw the film, I discovered it was anything but, and it was quite a unique film. I instantly fell in love with this film. However, I wouldn't consider it one of the greats until I would later see the extended version in the early 2000s. However, I remember it was the second time I saw this film that I first felt really emotionally affected by the powerful ending. There are, of course, a lot of things to admire about this film, including the over-the-top performance by Gary Oldman as the main villain. This is the film that really got me to appreciate him as an actor, and there's that classic line from the film where he's like, "Bring me everyone," and the other guy's like, "What do you mean everyone?" And then he screams, "Everyone!" That's probably Gary Oldman's most signature quote of his entire career, and a quote that's become a film classic. And of course, this was the breakthrough performance by Natalie Portman, who was 11 to 12 years old when making this film, and because of this film, she would later become a well-known actress. I think it's fair to say that she's even more than Jean Reno is the performance that really drives this film and makes it a memorable one. And although I hadn't really seen a film she's been in since that was as good or as good of a performance, ever since this film I consider her to be one of the best actresses, and she definitely deserved the stardom that she got. It's kind of strange watching this film now after seeing her in so many films as an adult to see her as an 11-year-old again. The film goes far beyond typical action film about a hitman, and in fact I would say the fact he's such an expert killer is secondary to the main story about the relationship he forms with this little girl. But of course, the fact that he's such an excellent killer and that she's out for revenge against dirty cops that killed her family certainly makes the story much more interesting and exciting. But the heart of the film is the relationship between Matilda and Leon. The film was directed by Luc Besson, and some see it as a follow-up to the cult classic French film La Femme Nikita, where Jean Reno played the cleaner in that film, where in this film he also refers to himself as a cleaner. So it can be said that the character of Leon is a variation of his character from La Femme Nikita, who had attempted to betray and kill that film's protagonist. I never really appreciated any of Luc Besson's later films, as he went on to direct films like The Fifth Element, The Messenger, and Lucy, and went on to write films like The Transporter and Taken, as all these films to me lack what this film had in spades: heart. So I see Leon as a unique film in his filmography, and the one and only time he got it right. There's been a lot of speculation for a long time about a sequel to Leone called Matilda, which would of course follow the story of Matilda as an adult, who would most likely now be a badass assassin comparable to Leone. And this idea would most likely be very viable because it would star Natalie Portman, and she's become a huge film star now. And at first I was very on board with this idea because I love this movie so much and would like to see it continued. But when I think about it, Luc Besson, what Luc Besson did with his later films, I'd be too afraid it would end up being very crappy. It wouldn't at all live up to the original. But thankfully, Luc Besson gave a recent interview where he was asked about the possibility of a sequel to Leon, where he said he would be opposed to the idea if he wouldn't be opposed to the idea if he came up with a great idea that would live up to the original, but he wouldn't make a sequel just to make more money, or wouldn't be pressured into doing it just for the sake of doing it. And that's really good to hear. So I don't think there will end up being one, because Luc Besson didn't seem overly pressed to do one, and if they can't think of one that would live up to the original, I'm perfectly fine with them just not doing one at all. So, as I mentioned earlier, there's an extended version of this film that's quite popular on DVD that has 25 extra minutes of scenes not shown in the original US theatrical release. When I first heard about it, I was told this was an international version shown in all countries except the US, which cut out these scenes because they were too controversial in depicting a romance between a young girl and a grown man. However, I learned that although that was the common rumor, that was actually not the case. The shortened theatrical release is what Luc Besson refers to as his director's cut, as he thinks it's the best cut of the film, and that there was in fact only one scene that the US studios asked to be removed because of the uncomfortable content. And it was this shortened version that was shown in all countries internationally except Japan. And in 1996, Luc Besson cut an extended version of this film for fans, as the film developed quite a following. At this point, it had yet to be released theatrically in Japan, and Japan specifically requested the extended version, so this extended version was released in Japan, which is why it became known as the international version. In the US, the extended version was released under the title Leon the Professional, so I personally associate Leon with the extended version and the Professional with the shortened theatrical version, even though the shortened version was released as Leon in many other countries. That's just the way I look at it. I personally much prefer the extended version, which is why I always make a point to say one of my favorite movies is Leon the Professional and not just The Professional. Now, I was reading a lot of opinions online today, and apparently opinions are fairly split on which version is better, which surprised me because I thought it was a no-brainer that the extended version was far better. However, apparently even the director likes the shorter version better, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to disagree with him. As I said, I really like the theatrical version, but I would never consider that film to be in my top 10 all-time favorite movies, but the extended version, however, very much so. In fact, I think it would be fair to say that these extra scenes are amongst my favorite scenes of the entire movie, and I think it added so much to the overall film. As I said, what makes this film unique is the relationship between Leon and Matilda, and these extra scenes all add to that and make it so much more powerful. In particular, the Russian roulette scene was amazing. I think would be fair to say that it's one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. This scene was just so powerful that she would be willing to shoot herself in the head if he didn't admit that he cared for her. And then there were scenes with him training her to be a killer, and even though these scenes weren't crucial to the overall plot, I thought they were absolutely necessary to the film, as they really enhanced it, because before I saw this version I was a bit disappointed in how little he actually trained her in the film. That's basically what it was supposed to be about. In the theatrical version, there was only one scene about this, and I wanted more, so I felt these scenes with him going on hits with her was exactly what we needed to see, and it certainly added to their relationship, as did the restaurant scene where she got drunk. I felt that certainly added to the richness of the relationship, and I completely disagree with the director in this case. I don't think these scenes should have been cut at all. From what I was reading online, some people just felt the film worked better shorter and more succinct, which I couldn't possibly disagree with more, as I felt these scenes really enriched the film and made it much more powerful. And others felt it deepened the romance between a 12-year-old girl and a grown man, which made them a lot more uncomfortable, to which I say, get over it. And it's fine for several reasons. First off, he never returned her feelings for her. Eventually, he does admit he loves her, but it's more of in a fatherly or mentor type way, not sexual in the slightest. And on her part, it was a normal schoolgirl crush, and it wasn't portrayed as sexual at all. So I say grow up and get over your uncomfortableness. Because these themes were there even in theatrical release. This version just expanded upon the relationship and made it much more effective. So now I want to get into spoiler territory, the spoiler section of this review. So if you haven't seen Leon the Professional, you may want to stop this video here. Thanks a lot for watching. But if you have seen Leon, then please continue onward. So this section won't be very long. I just want to talk about the ending of the film, which is of course its strongest point. The best sad ending any action film has ever had. The ending is truly powerful, as Leon has to go up against 200 cops trying to kill him, and that heartbreaking speech he gives to Matilda when he tries to convince her to leave was one of the most powerful scenes in cinematic history. And of course, the tragedy of Leon's death and Matilda coming to terms with it by planting Leon's plan was also really heartbreaking. And of course, one of the most classic lines in the film where Leon says, "This is from Matilda," and gives Stansfield the grenade pen before he blows him up. Truly classic. In my opinion, it is by far the most well-written, most emotionally effective action film in cinematic history, something that's truly unique and hasn't even come close to being duplicated since. So that's it for my top 50 movies number 8. You can check out the description below for links to the other videos in my top 50 movies series, and make sure you subscribe to keep up with the future videos I'll be doing in this series, and thanks a lot for watching.